What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Quarantine Kitchen. This is going to be our final episode for the season. We're doing a mystery box meal, spaghetti with meat sauce. A couple ingredients you're going to need for that spaghetti: pound of ground beef, pound of spaghetti noodles, an onion, some garlic. You can grab a nice fresh French baguette to make your own garlic bread, as well as any other herbs and spices you might want to add to your tomato sauce. Let's get going, guys. All right, so the first step to my spaghetti, my meat sauce, is I'm gonna go ahead and chop up one yellow onion. You can grab whatever onion you like best. I tend to use a yellow onion if I'm doing something like this, stewing it. I just like the flavor a little bit better. But go ahead and dice this up nice and fine. And then we're gonna jump into our garlic, and I'm gonna go ahead and mince that. That's kind of gonna be the base of our tomato sauce. So we'll go ahead and get this. Just remember your knife skills. You know, I reiterated on the first two episodes. Just use common sense. Give that a rough dice. These onions are gonna be stewed down. They're gonna be cooking for a little while, so you know, if they're not the littlest onions, it'll be fine. Now that we got our onion cut up, go ahead and jump into the garlic. Just get that minced up. Easy way, I usually will cut off the root before I start cutting it, and then I'll just squeeze it out of there. And then you get all your cloves. So pretty easy process. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up, we'll do two. And if you don't feel like doing all this work, you can always buy pre-minced garlic. I just think this tastes better. I think it's fresher, you know. But do what you want. If you don't got a lot of time at home, you need to make something quick, then that's just a step that you can just go ahead and eliminate if you buy the jar of minced garlic already. So, but like I said, I like the flavor better. I think it's fresher. I think it's more pungent. And you get that more authentic garlic taste. I'm just gonna give this garlic a rough chop. I'm not gonna mince it up too much. Go ahead and just go over a little bit. Make sure we don't have chunks that are too big. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and light the pilot over here, about medium to low heat, not too high. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a little canola oil to the pot. And I'm gonna come over and just go ahead and add my onions. Got a nice sizzle in the pan. Go ahead and add my onions. And I might let that sweat for a second before I add my garlic. You know, the thing with garlic, it can burn easily. So sometimes I'll wait a little while before I add the garlic. Just sweat these onions for a minute. Go ahead and hit it with some salt and pepper. So go ahead and add a little salt and pepper to your onions. Go ahead and sweat those for a second. Give it a mix. When I'm talking about sweat the onions, so you just want to cook them down. That's pretty much what sweating the onion means. You know, you want it to become a little translucent in the pan. You don't want to cook it down to a mush or anything like that. Just go ahead and get a nice saute on it. And saute, you're just cooking it in oil like we got here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic, my fresh chopped garlic into the pan as well. Go ahead and get that sauteed down, cooked down a little bit before we decide to add the ground beef. So this is just gonna help to flavor the meat as well as the sauce. So I'm gonna let that go for about a minute or two and just let it cook down a little bit. So now that you've sweated down your onions and garlic, I'm gonna go ahead and take my ground beef and add it to the pot. This ground beef I got it's a 85-15, so that's 85% lean and 15% fat. I like it a little fattier just because it adds a little more flavor to the sauce. So that's why I got the little fattier meat. So you go ahead and add that, and you can use a rubber spat. You can use a wooden spoon, you know, whatever tools y'all got. But just go ahead and brown that meat up, incorporate it with your onions. And after that's browned up, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our peeled tomatoes to the sauce, which is really gonna be the body of the sauce. So the size of the meat is really kind of up to you. If you want to break it down into really small, fine pieces, you know, if that's how you like your sauce, you can do it that way. If you like your sauce to be a little more chunky, a little more rustic, you can go ahead and not break up the pieces as much. It's really whatever you want to do. So ideally you want no pink left in the meat whenever you're browning the beef. So go ahead and just keep cooking that up, stir it until you don't see any more red in there. And then it's really optional, but if you have, you know, ground beef that's a little fattier, you can go ahead and drain it, some of that fat out if you don't want it to be, you know, quite as greasy, I guess I would say. But that's really up to you. If you want that flavor in there, you know, it's really what you whatever you would like to do. So we'll go ahead and give this about 2 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and add our canned peeled tomatoes. So now that I've browned the meat, there's no more pink left in the ground beef. I'm gonna go ahead and add, I bought 2 cans of the San Marzano tomatoes. They're peeled whole tomatoes that have been stewed already. So really, traditionally, if you wanted to make this, you could grab some Roma tomatoes and boil them and then peel the skin off and then stew them. But we kind of took a shortcut here. But this is a product of Italy. This is kind of like what you want to look for if you're trying to make. So as a product of Italy, the San Marzano tomatoes. If you, this is kind of like what you want to buy if you're trying to make kind of like a homemade rustic sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these whole tomatoes to the pot. And then we're gonna go ahead and get that stewing We're gonna break down these tomatoes a little bit as they stew, and we'll go ahead and add spices and herbs as this starts to cook down a little bit. All right, so when you add the tomatoes, they've already been stewed down, the canned tomatoes. So if you want, you get these big tomatoes in here, these big tomato chunks. You can actually just use the spatula to just break up those tomatoes. They're really easy. It's not hard to do. Like I said, with the ground beef though, if you want a more rustic sauce, you don't have to break up the tomatoes as much if you want those big tomato chunks in there. But really it's up to you. But what I'm doing right now, I'm gonna let this cook down a little bit, kind of let these flavors incorporate, and then I'm gonna taste it. Always taste your food, make sure it's not too salty, make sure you need, if you need salt, add salt. But yeah, we're just gonna let this stew up and let this kind of incorporate. All right, so what I got here, guys, is a little bit of beef stock, and I'm really just gonna add it to the sauce, probably about a cup. And really I'm just adding it more for flavor, and a way so that the sauce doesn't thicken up too much as I'm simmering it. And like I said, I think it just gives a good flavor to the sauce, really. A little more savory, a little richer. So I got some fresh cracked black pepper and some salt that I'm adding to the sauce right now. Just for flavor. We'll go ahead and as we're adding things, we'll stir it up. We'll give it a taste test and see how it tastes. Always taste your food just to make sure you haven't added too much salt, too much pepper. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a few spices to our sauce. It's gonna be your basic. You got some garlic powder here, Italian seasoning, basil leaves, oregano, and some bay leaves. Those are kind of some of your simple basic spices that I usually add to my meat sauce. Like I said, it's really up to you. If there's a spice that you like more than another one, by all means, add it. This is gonna be your sauce ultimately. So we'll go ahead and add a little bit of our Italian seasoning, as well as some oregano. We'll go ahead and stir that up here in a minute. Go ahead and add some basil leaf. That basil is gonna give it a little sweeter flavor. And last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and add 2 bay leaves to the sauce. I'll go ahead and give this a stir. Make sure that's all well incorporated. And we'll let that continue to simmer a little bit. Also, if you want, you can go ahead and add a little Parmesan cheese to your mix. Honestly, this will just add a little extra salt and a little, it'll thicken up your sauce just a little bit. But I like to add just a little bit of cheese to my sauce. That might be sacrilege to some Italians, but this is my sauce. So I'm going ahead and tasting the sauce, seeing what it needs. Definitely needed some more salt. I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little bit of everything to it again, starting with our garlic powder. Definitely can't go wrong with garlic in your sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and incorporate that. And also, while I'm getting my sauce simmering over here, I'm also gonna go ahead and salt my pasta water. Make sure you get a decent amount of salt in there. And that's just gonna flavor your pasta before you add it to the sauce. All right, guys, so what I got for you right here is just a French baguette that I bought from the grocery store. If you want to make your own bread, you can. I'm not that well versed in baking, so I leave it to people that know better. So I got this bread. It makes for a nice crunchy garlic bread. It's nice and soft right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just cut it in half. Make sure you're using a serrated knife with the jagged edges. That's gonna give you a lot cleaner cut with the bread, because you're just using the bread as a sawing motion. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut through this so that we can make some nice garlic bread for our pasta. We'll go ahead, we'll cut this, and then we will take our compound butter mixture that we have, and we will go ahead and spread it on there and get it ready for the oven. You know, when you put it in the oven, this isn't gonna take long. This bread is already cooked. It's already baked, so really what we're doing is just putting the garlic butter on there and getting it nice and crispy in the oven. So I went ahead and I melted down the butter a little bit, and honestly that'll just make it easier for us to put it on the bread. I'm using a brush. I was gonna use a spat, but found out that didn't work very well. So go ahead, take your butter mixture and just put it onto this bread here. And we're gonna end up throwing this here just right in the oven and getting that nice and crispy. It's gonna create a nice blanket for our pasta. We'll go ahead and set those up. We'll put those in the oven here when the pasta's about done. We'll just put it in for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, we're not trying to cook the bread. We're just trying to get it nice and crisp and get a nice toasty texture to it. So now that I got my pasta water coming to a boil, I'm gonna go ahead and add the pasta. Luckily this is a giant pot, so you won't have to do anything to the noodles. Sometimes if your pot's a little smaller, you're gonna have to break the noodles, or I like to just set them in there and then let the water soften them up, and then they'll go ahead and they'll stir together. It's real easy. If you don't have a ladle specifically for pasta, tongs work just fine. Just make sure you're stirring the noodles around. I might set a timer for about 8 to 9 minutes, and just check it. You know, if the pasta is a little al dente, it really depends on your preference of pasta. Some people like it a little more al dente, and some people like it cooked a lot more. Just know that when it cooks down more, it's gonna start to fall apart. It's gonna start to kind of become mushy. So it's a good rule of thumb to not overcook your pasta, especially if you're gonna add your noodles straight to the sauce. I would make sure your pasta is a little al dente, because it'll continue to cook in that sauce there. Fry your pasta. Don't be afraid to eat it raw. And honestly, it's pretty good. You want to make sure it has a little bite to it and it's not too mushy. But if it's crunchy, then obviously you're going to need a little bit more time for your pasta to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that burner off. And I'm going to take this pasta. And if you want to stop cooking, if you want it to stop cooking altogether, you can add it to an ice bath, and that way it'll shock the pasta and it'll stop it from cooking anymore. That way it doesn't overcook. But we're not gonna do that today. We're just gonna go ahead and add it to a bowl. So I added a little bit of canola oil to the pasta, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna prevent it from basically congealing into one big ball of pasta. So So I'm gonna use my tongs and move that around a little bit and try and, I might have to add a little bit, you know, a little bit more oil to the mixture. But like I said, you don't want too much oil. Then the sauce isn't gonna stick to the noodles. But I want enough in there. Now that we've gotten our bread nice and toasted, go ahead and we'll take it out of the oven, get a nice golden brown on it. Alright guys, that's it for this week's episode of Quarantine Kitchen. Because it's the finale, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and check in on the crew and see how they're enjoying the spaghetti dish. Let's go guys, let's go check them out.
That's good.
So what's the verdict?
You did that. I think you put your foot in it.
So as far as quarantine goes, how has that changed y'all's eating habits for quarantine?
Sure. Gotta eat at home more often. Can't go out now.
I mean, I feel like I started off kind of nice. I was eating healthy, exercising. I had a lot of free time in my hands. And then those DoorDash orders just started adding up.
Yeah.
Adding up.
See, I was the opposite. I was like Uber Eats and DoorDash and ordering food. And then now I'm like more on the healthy side and working out more.
I recently bought the Dash Pass, so now it's been nonstop.
They got you.
Shit.
They suckered you in.
They got me, I'm sorry.
Pre-COVID-19, like what's the one thing you really want to go back to?
I mean, just being able to have, it's not necessarily that I want to just be like going out, right? It's having that option. You know what I mean? It's like, if I do want to go out, I have that option to say yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just being no, you can't go nowhere.
No, I miss going to the grocery store and not having to like have awkward like pass-bys with people because they think you're gonna get them sick or something. Like, you're walking by them, like, looking at you, make sure you got your mask on.
I went to the
You feel like if you
store,
touch somebody, they might have to go through a chemical like
a little bad.
body spray.
2319.
Having to be careful, like if you sneeze or cough.
Yeah, I miss being able to cough in public.
Without looking like a plague.
I'm just coughing.
You patient zero if you cough in public.
It's funny because sometimes I have to be like, it's allergies. I have to like tell them like my allergies are acting up.
Nah, bro, I think more than anything, just being able to just kick it with a large group of people. It's like if I wanted to have 15 people at my house, like everybody not gonna show up. And then the people that do show up, a lot of those people have stuff that they worried about going back to their jobs, going back to their families. So everybody masked up, distance, like not really coming together. Like that's why I kind of like, just being able to eat with everybody here. This is the first time a lot of people have been able to come together. Like it's crazy that you'd even think that you would miss something like that.
All right, what do we think?
The spaghetti was delicioso.